Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, before we get onto the banking industry, don't forget, 8 p.m. tonight, I'm talking live to Venan Dutoy, a prisoner of war who was caught in Cabinda in Angola. So that's happening in about an hour's time. So please make sure you're there to join in. You can ask him questions from the side chat. So it's going to be a cracker of a live stream. Now, getting to the banking industry. I worked for Barclays Bank for 10 years in South Africa, in KwaZulu-Natal. I worked at Greytown, I worked at Ikopo, I worked at Umzimkhulu, I worked at Escort. From Escort I went out to Wiener often at the bank agency. I worked in Pietermaritzburg, where that's when I left the bank after 10 years. And when I left, one of my really good friends, his name was Eddie, and Eddie said to me, "Scotty, you're crazy to be leaving now because, you'd get a really good bank pension if you just carried on." And I was just tired of working in a bank. It was just a dead-end job. I was in marketing there. But I came to Australia in 1986, and Eddie continued to work in the bank, and he was a manager, and the other guys I knew were managers and held good positions at Barclays Bank, which later became, I think it was First National Bank or ABSO, one of those two. I think it's FNB. And after 1994, when BBE was brought in, Eddie suddenly found himself being retrenched. This is after something like, 40 years in the bank or 30 years in the bank. Loyal service, had a very good position. He was retrenched. And then he was brought back in on a contracting basis by that same bank. And do you know what his job was to do? It was to go to various bank branches around KwaZulu-Natal for a couple of days at a time and sort out all the stuff-ups by the new black African bank managers in those branches. And he said they were legends, some of the stuff-ups. No security. Documents hadn't been signed. Just about anything you can think of was a complete and utter stuff-up with these new black managers. And why were they brought in there? Because of black economic empowerment. And the bank itself just sacrificed all the loyal staff who'd been there for 50 years. I really don't have much time for the banks in South Africa. Now, that's where this article is very relevant. Junior management at South African banks was 85% black, according to the Banking Association of South Africa's 2019 Transformation in Banking report. Now, when I was at Barclays Bank in Escort, for example, there were no black Africans actually working in that branch. We had a couple of guys who did sort of tasks like brought tea and that was the job. They're probably now the managers in that branch. They had no understanding of banking whatsoever. So anyway, this is what BEE has done to South Africa. Anyway, continuing on in this article, achieving 85% black employees was important, as it means there's a pipeline of young black talent and experience who will transform the management and executive ranks of the industry in coming years. Good luck with that. Opportunities for advancement in the industry remain, despite a reduction in headcount in some operations, it said. The South African Reserve Bank has issued new banking licenses, increasing competition and expanding the banking industry, it said. Although the industry had gone beyond what was required by the Financial Sector Code and the Black Economic Empowerment Codes of Good Practice, how can you have codes of good practice when it's BEE? That is a complete conflicted suggestion, completely conflicted. Now, this is where you get to the crunch. Okay. Although the industry had gone beyond what was required by the Financial Sector Code and the Black Economic Empowerment Codes of Good Practice, the performance of the industry was uneven and it must do better. Guess why it's failing? Yeah, I talked about what Eddie used to do. Basically full-time on a contract basis to Barclays or FNB. The report found that black ownership measures such as voting rights had declined over the past 3 years, but remained above the FSC targets of 25%. With the exception of black economic interest, the decline in black economic interest is mostly due to the exit of shareholders from bank empowerment schemes, it found. So, just like this is just absolutely typical. Just like in other businesses, they bring in one of the ANC cadres, he gets given a lovely set of shares so that the bank is now BBEE compliant. Black privilege it's called, okay? So now you've got this guy sitting there with all these shares and stuff like that. And when he's ready, he just sells his shares to the stock exchange or whatever, and all of a sudden they're no longer BBEE compliant, are they? Because he sold it to a white person. This is a complete scam, guys. This is a complete scam. Anyway, let's continue. The decline in black economic interest is mostly due to the exit of shareholders from bank empowerment schemes, it found. Ownership measures were likely to continue to drift downwards in the coming years as black investors diversify their portfolios. They're taking the money and running, and they didn't even earn it. These are the well-connected ANC cadres you see driving around in Porsches in Gauteng. While this leads to a reduction in black ownership of banks, it adds value to the economy as shareholders apply their realized funds in other sectors, like the Porsche, the report said. This is such a scam. In 2018, large bank balance sheets exposure to black small and medium enterprises increased by 13% to 28.8 billion rand. Black agricultural financing increased by 41% to 4.5 billion rand, while spending on supplier development almost doubled to 795 million rand. Now, I just want to say in closing, now that you got blacks running the banks, even though they don't know what they're doing, it's why the white farmers in places like the Free State are being given such an incredibly hard time by the aforesaid banks, having their loans foreclosed and their farms taken off them because of the drought. There's absolutely no empathy or sympathy for farmers who've been banking with banks like Standard Bank for hundreds, well not hundreds, maybe 100 years. No, they just shut them down like that. This is how sick the financial system is in South Africa. Okay guys, in closing, please remember tonight 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, I'm talking to Wynand du Toit, the prisoner of war who was captured in Angola. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.